Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of English Chit Chat, the podcast where we help you improve your English while having a great time. I'm Emma.
And I'm Jake. Today we have an interesting story for you. It's a fun one. We're talking about first dates, and let's just say how sometimes things don't go as planned.
That's right. Everyone's had one of those awkward or funny first dates, right? But this one, let's just say it takes the cake. And of course, we'll pause here and there to explain some useful phrases and expressions you can use in everyday conversations.
Okay, so let's jump right into it. Emma, do you want to kick things off?
Sure, so today's story is about a guy named Mark. He's super excited because he's finally going on a date with this girl, Sarah, that he's had a crush on for a while. They met at a bookstore. Pretty romantic, right?
Bookstore. You don't hear that too often these days. So they decide to meet at a cafe downtown. Mark gets there early, really trying to make a good impression, you know?
Yeah, and he's trying to play it cool, checking the menu, thinking about what to order so he looks calm and collected. But here's where things start to go a little off track.
Oh no, what happened?
Well, Sarah texts him saying she's running a little late. No big deal, right? Except as he's waiting, Mark suddenly realizes he forgot his wallet.
Oh man, on a first date. That's a nightmare. So what does he do?
Exactly. He starts panicking, thinking he's going to look totally irresponsible. But Mark being Mark, he thinks, okay, no problem. I'll just order something small, and maybe I can explain later. He orders a coffee and a small pastry.
Smart move, or so it seems.
Right, so he's sitting there trying to act like everything's fine, but in his head, he's freaking out. Then Sarah walks in, looking great, and he tries to play it cool.
Of course, gotta stay calm under pressure, right? What happens next?
Well, they're chatting and things are going well. Mark's thinking, okay, maybe I can survive this. Then Sarah says, oh, I'm starving. Let's order something bigger.
Oh no, he must be sweating bullets by now.
Exactly. Now he's really panicking because he knows he can't afford to pay for the meal. But here's the twist. Sarah tells him that she forgot her wallet too.
This date is a disaster.
I know, right? So now they're both sitting there laughing awkwardly, both too embarrassed to admit they're broke. So they decide to come clean. Sarah says, I can't believe this, but I forgot my wallet at home. And Mark, totally relieved, says, no way, me too.
That's hilarious. But then how do they pay for the coffee and pastries?
Well, here's where it gets even funnier. The waiter comes over with the bill and they're both just staring at it. Finally, Mark musters up the courage and says, so, funny story, neither of us has our wallets.
Oh boy, what does the waiter say?
The waiter looks at them and Ben bursts out laughing. Turns out he'd seen the whole thing, noticed how nervous they both looked, and decides to cover the bill for them. He says, don't worry about it, it's on the house. Just make sure you come back next time with your wallets.
Wow, what a lucky break. So did they end up going on a second date?
They did. They actually found the whole situation hilarious and it broke the ice. They started dating after that and it became a funny story they'd tell their friends for years.
That is such a great story. Now, let's break down some of the phrases we use today that could be useful for anyone listening and wanting to improve their English.
Yeah, let's do that. First up, we said Mark wanted to make a good impression. This means he wanted Sarah to have a positive opinion of him. It's something you'd want to do when you meet someone for the first time, right?
Exactly. And then we mentioned that Mark was trying to play it cool. That means he was trying to act calm, even though he was nervous inside.
Another good phrase is sweating bullets. This means someone is really nervous or anxious. Like he was sweating bullets during the job interview. It's an informal way of saying you're stressed.
Right, and finally on the house, this means that something is free. The cafe gave them the food and drinks for free. It's a nice expression to know, especially when you hear it at restaurants.
Great. Now, if you're listening, try using these phrases in your conversations or even while practicing English with friends. The more you use them, the more natural they'll sound.
All right, let's take a break and talk about some of the useful expressions we heard during the story. You can use these in everyday conversations, so listen carefully.
Yes, let's start with the phrase, make a good impression. This means you want someone to think well of you when they first meet you. You can use it in different situations like a job interview or a first date like Mark wanted to do.
Next, we heard the expression sweating bullets. This means someone is extremely nervous. Imagine you're so nervous that you're sweating a lot. For example, I was sweating bullets during my presentation at work.
Another great one is on the house. This is a phrase you'll often hear in restaurants or cafes. It means that something is free, like a free drink or a free meal. In our story, the waiter gave them their food on the house because they both forgot their wallets. Upset.
Finally, we have bite the bullet. This means to do something unpleasant or difficult that you've been avoiding. For example, Mark had to bite the bullet and admit to the waiter that they couldn't pay.
To great expressions. Now let's move on to something fun and interactive where you, the listener, can practice with us.
All right, everyone. Now it's your turn to join in. We're going to give you a situation, and you'll have a few seconds to think about how you would respond. Then we'll share our version and you can compare.
Here's your first situation. Imagine you're on a first date and you realize you forgot your wallet. What would you say to your date? Take a moment to think about it.
Okay, here's one way you could say it. I'm really sorry, but I just realized I left my wallet at home. Is there any chance we can split the bill next time?
Great. Remember, it's okay to be honest in situations like this, and most people will understand if you're upfront about it.
Let's try another one. Imagine you're at a restaurant and the waiter says, "This one's on the house." How would you respond? Think about it.
Here's how you could respond. Wow, thank you so much. That's really kind of you.
Perfect. Always be polite and show appreciation when someone does something nice for you, especially when it's free.
Last one. You're at work and your boss asks you to give a big presentation tomorrow. You're nervous, but you have to bite the bullet. How would you handle it?
Here's a response. I'm definitely nervous, but I'll do it. It's time to bite the bullet and get it done.
Exactly. Faking challenges is part of life, and it's a great phrase to use when you need to push through a difficult situation.
Well, that's all for today's episode. We hope you had fun with our story and learned something new along the way.
And remember, don't be afraid to use these phrases in your daily conversations. The more you practice, the better you'll get.
Thanks for tuning in, everyone. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe and leave us a review.
See you next time on English Chit Chat. Keep practicing, and don't forget your wallets.
Yes, definitely don't forget your wallets. Bye, everyone.